Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about burpee variations, how to do different burpees and when you might want to use the different variations in certain situations. Now we're not here to talk about a step back, a step forward, we will cover that, but there's going to be plenty more variations that we can now think of, especially now that we know what the CrossFit season generally starts to throw at us. For the sake of today's example, we're going to be using a bar facing burpee for most of it. So we're going to start with the most simple and probably the slowest variation of a bar facing burpee, which is simply going to be a step back, step up, and then a jump over the bar. But just because we're slowing it down, it doesn't mean you can't be efficient with the movement. So if I'm talking about a step back, step up burpee, of course I'm going to start far enough away from the bar so I can place my hands down the floor. Both hands go down as one foot steps back. We come down to the floor, my forehead's nice and close to the bar. And I step back up. It should still be a step into the bar, which allows us to then basically jump immediately. Now we know that generally speaking, the CrossFit season asks for a jump effort versus a two-footed takeoff. Of course, it's a two-footed takeoff, you just got to be more aware of that. But from here, we can still make a jumping effort. You're not allowed to skip over the bar. So a jump over the bar that way, step back down, step up, step close, jump. Step down, step up, step forward, jump. So that's the slowest variation that we got. But what we didn't do was step up after and then have to complete another step to the bar before we jump over. So we're just trying to make it just a little bit more efficient. The closer you can stay to the barbell, the more control you will have and the faster and more efficient the movement will be. The next thing I want to speak about with the step up on the burpee is which foot do you step up with and which way do you rotate. One thing that we always talk about in training, don't forget different to a competitive setting, but when we're talking about training, we want to try and utilize both sides, both ways to jump, both sides to step up with. So two different types of step up variations we got. As I'm down the floor, I can bring my foot up onto the outside of me. Here, and then from there, to step towards the bar, I can choose which way to turn. Whichever foot generally is further forward is the way you're going to turn and jump. I wouldn't go from this angle and then rotate that way. I would go from this angle and rotate that way. The next option we have, rather than stepping up on the outside, will actually be to use the same leg, but step up in between the two hands. This might be better for someone who's a bit tighter or weaker in the hips. So as we come up from the burpee, my right foot, rather than coming on the outside this time, is actually going to come on the inside between the two hands, which is going to allow us to then get more. You can see I'm already set up to be rotated as I now jump. Again, as I come down, the foot steps up between the two hands, rotate, jump. So two different options, foot on the outside of the hand versus feet on the inside of the hand. Again, practice going both ways with the step up and with the jump. Now the next thing we want to think about, for a lot of people, a burpee is actually limited, if it's not limited by the hips, it's limited by the chest and your horizontal pressing mechanics. So what we want to think about is trying to be as efficient as possible. If I'm in this position here, my arms are now loaded and so is my chest. So we basically want to get down out of this position as fast as we can. We essentially want zero eccentric control when we are coming down in the burpee. What we don't want to do is step back, lower ourselves down slowly, press back up, and then go. So from here, once you flop down to the floor, it basically wants to be momentum through the chest, hips, and feet to allow for this position to be completed as fast as possible or onto the outside of the body. So legs can then take the weight. Another option we got when we're down on the floor is to actually lead with the chest. This is going to be a much faster variation of the burpee, much more aggressive, and you can probably hear my heart rate and my metabolic rate starting to raise up a little bit. So this next method is going to be leading with the chest and really almost free falling into the floor. As soon as your chest hits the floor, it's going to look like a bit of the worm that you might see at a disco night out, Saturday night out. The chest will hit the floor first and we pop straight back up off the floor. Don't forget, generally speaking, it's chest to make contact with the floor at the bottom of the burpee, so you're ticking that standard as you do this. So from this position, chest leads, hand goes down to the floor, chest leads, hit the floor straight back up. Notice I'm not dropping flat. Dropping flat would look like this. So it's a bit more rigidity, excuse me. There's a bit more rigidity through the push-up when you're coming down flat versus leading with the chest. Is it necessarily more efficient for you? That's up to you to try and basically figure out which one is the most efficient for you. Some of you will have a different cadence for if you have to do 100 burpees within a workout. Some of you will have a different pace if there's only 20 burpees in a workout. If it's 5 rounds of 20 burpees, we want to try and find a sustainable way or sustainable method and cadence to be able to continually move through those without building up too much fatigue. Don't forget, of course, to that method and those few methods that we just spoke about there, of course, we can always put in a jump back, jump up. That's easy. That's not rocket science anymore. What we're trying to think about is how we can be efficient by stepping closer to the bar every time, so there's no shuffling steps in the burpee, but also how we can try and save the pecs and the triceps as they're dropping down towards the floor. Play with the different variations, jumping back, jumping forward, stepping forward, foot on the outside, foot on the inside, rotating left, rotating right, stepping up one way and then rotating the other way, chest straight to the floor, the worm style burpee, or the flop down style burpee. Play with everything, remember, before you throw it into a crazy CrossFit style scenario. Play with it in isolation, get used to it, understand it. Once you've isolated it and you understand how it feels, then implement into your workouts. Good luck.